Hello, Sociology of Sexualities students. Welcome to the Unit 1 overview for our class. So I'm going to take us over to Blackboard shortly and show you what Unit number 1 is all about. Just a quick reminder, each unit is about 2 weeks in length. This one's a week and a half since we started on a Wednesday. So don't try to get everything done in 1 week. Each unit has multiple tasks. Your first task will be to watch this video, and that will be the same throughout each of the units. So let's go take a look at Blackboard together. Again, on our home page, which is where you land when you click on our class on Blackboard, I have everything you need on the home page. I organized it this way on purpose to try to make it a little bit easier on you. So as you scroll down, you have intro videos to the class itself, you have the syllabus, you have info on, additional information to support you, information on how to contact me, and then we get into the units. So as you see, only 2 units are visible to you right now. I don't want to overwhelm students by adding too much too quickly. So unit number 1 goes from August 25th through September 2nd, and really is a chance for you to get to know SOC 243 by learning about the legacy of LGBTQ activism in the United States. So you'll always start on just a quick intro whenever you click on a unit. You'll also notice that there's a table of contents over here, so you can actually click around and see the different tasks. This one has 6 tasks. You normally only have 4 or 5 tasks, but because we are intro and this is our first time, there's a little bit extra to do. So this video will be here, and that'll be your first task, is to watch this, right? And then there's just general guides, right? Begin working on the task below, take your time, spread the work out, make a schedule for yourself. If you are curious, this is the only time I'll do this, but you can join me for an optional Welcome to the Course Zoom on Monday the 30th from 1 to 2 and earn, 2 points of extra credit for attending. Then click through the tasks. So getting started, and I have a suggested due date between the 25th and 31st up here. I just have some, task 2 is actually 3 mini tasks, a little tricky there. But I just have some questions to help me understand more about where you're coming from, your comfort levels and expertise, and your desires for the class. So first is a survey that is, very short, probably just take a couple minutes for you to complete. That'll just let me know, again, what you're comfortable with in terms of software, and what your expectations are for the semester in the class. And then I have a Google Doc where I'm asking you a few questions. The first question is actually that survey, so if you hadn't done that yet, you would do it. Note that the survey is anonymous, so I won't know if you do it or not. I won't know, if it is you, what you say. I'm not able to connect who did it with their responses. The Google Doc questionnaire, however, I'm asking you to add your name so that I know who wrote what. And we can already see that some folks are doing it. Yay! So for example, for the SOC 243, getting started, I'm asking questions about your hopes, goals, and expectations for the course. I'm asking you to reflect on what respectful class communication looks like for you. And I'm asking you what your expectations are of me. Like, what do you want me to do? How often do you want me to send you emails? Would you prefer I text you? What's a reasonable grading period? Okay. I am, and this is a place to talk about it, because we're an asynchronous class, I've always struggled with asynchronous classes in terms of ensuring that students feel connected, even though we are asynchronous, so we're not meeting, like a class normally would. However, I've noticed that students really like having, the chance to meet, not necessarily office hours, but chances to kind of meet with me and maybe another student or two to talk about a particular issue or reading or just to check in, right? So what I've done is put everyone into small groups via the discussion board, which you'll work on all semester. But I'm requiring you in those small groups to meet with me twice during the semester. Now this is new, and so tell me what you think about that somewhere on this document, right? They're worth 5 points each. You get your points just for coming and staying. When you're on Zoom, you don't have to be camera on. You just have to be participatory with typing or audio, right? It's really just a chance for us to check in with each other, which gives me the ability to have more insight into, your particular needs and get a better sense of where to go moving forward with both your group and also the class. So, oh, and you can also sign up for the courses Remind. I'm using the Remind app, so you can sign up to get pretty much just weekly reminders on what's going on and what's due, and you can also use it to respond and talk to me. Task number 3 is your first discussion board post, right? So it's going to take you to the discussion board page, and then you're going to find your group that has your last name listed. I create the threads. You don't have to create the threads, and then you'll just reply to the thread and write your response. You can hit click to launch, or you can go up here. Blackboard may be a little bit slow early on because it is a busy time the first week when everybody is prepping, everybody's logging on. So I see all the groups. You won't see all the groups. You should see 2. You should see our confusions, help, venting, sort of forum where you can ask any sort of questions you want, any help, things that you are confused about, curious about, you can come here, right? The other group that you'll see should be a forum that has your last name, right? So I put students into groups, just did it randomly. So you see, the groups, the students are listed here by last name. I'll change it to your first name, the name you go by after you do your intro. These are the Instagram groups that you're going to be studying all semester. You don't have to worry about that yet. That'll show up in Unit 2. For now, just find the one that has your last name and click on it, and there's our first thread. So for unit number 1, you'll hit reply, and I'm asking you to answer 4 questions. 1, what name do you use? What do you want us to call you? What pronouns do you use if you're comfortable sharing that here? Why you decided to take this course, especially if you aren't a gender studies or sociology major or minor, because that's what this course counts for. And then I'm asking you if you want to change your group's name. I really just sort of made up names based on the Instagrams that you'll be studying. This is a sexualities course. You're going to be reading about sex and queerness and straightness and porn and sex work and about law and the family itself, right? So it's a lot. So if you want to, change your name, the name of your group, right, the name of your forum, right, this one's called Here and Queer, just let me know. Make sure to say hello to 1 or 2 other of your group peers, so come back and reply to them. And I'll also come in to each of the groups and say hello and introduce myself as well. I created these small groups because truly in an asynchronous online course, y'all are each other's best support network. So each unit, you will be interacting with, 4 or 5 other students in the discussion board, and your discussion board assignments will actually build to a larger assignment. So that is, task 1, 2, and 3. Task 1, you watched this video. Task 2, you did the survey, Google Doc, you signed up for Remind. Task 3, you introduced yourself on the discussion board post. And maybe that's enough for one day. And then maybe you come back on another day and dive into the substance of the course. So task 4, the read, watch, hear. This is everything that I want you to read, to watch, and to hear. So these are going to be all the readings, right? I don't use a textbook. I curate the readings for you, and you might be like, oh my gosh, I'm scrolling. Why am I scrolling? It seems like a lot. It's really not. It's just organized a little bit differently than you would see. If it's a textbook, read all of chapter 2. Here I'm providing you snippets, right, of different pieces of research, of scholar activism, mini documentary clips and things like that. So again, don't pressure yourself to complete 1 unit all in one day, right? This is 2 weeks worth of work, or at least for unit number 1, a week and a half worth of work. So I want you to start by watching a documentary called Stonewall Forever about sort of the past, present, and future of Pride. Many people are really surprised to learn that the first gay pride was a riot started by transgender people of color. And it was a riot against police violence, right? And so, we then tend to think of Pride today as like, oh, we have, a giant parade in the city and there's rainbows and different companies have floats and you go and you have fun and it's just like a party. But Pride is honoring the Stonewall riots, which is when largely trans people of color fought back against police who wanted to arrest them because at the time, quote unquote, dressing as the opposite gender was illegal, right? And cops would fairly regularly go and just, bust bars where gay people and trans people would hang out and arrest them and sometimes assault them. So you're going to watch this 20-minute, documentary about Stonewall. And then you're going to read a few short clips. So this is from Dr. Duberman, who is an LGBTQ scholar. And, this is an old piece, but it's really, it's really good. So I just want you to read this excerpt where he, through his research, right, got a fairly interesting assessment of what was happening that day, that night, well, really multiple nights, at the Stonewall Inn here in New York City in 1969. And then I'm asking you to read a piece called Transgender Women of Color at Stonewall, which is about Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. This may look familiar. That's on my syllabus. You don't have to watch these, documentaries, these little clips, but if you want to, you can. I just wanted you to get the little bit of information that the Equality Archive offers you here. So again, these are short reads. And another piece about Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. This one's fairly helpful, especially if you weren't familiar with terminology. It's interesting, this term transgender, they didn't really have that term and terminology back in the day. So now we say like Marsha and Sylvia were trans women, right? But they tended to refer to themselves as drag queens because that was just sort of the language that we had today. Or had back then. Whereas today, drag queen means something, very specific and different from somebody who is trans, although trans people can be drag queens, but not all drag queens are trans. And that's very different from somebody who might identify as transvestite, which is really a word that we don't use very often today, but refers very, very, very specifically to a person who derives sort of a pleasure and excitement. Think of Eddie Izzard, if you're familiar with that actor, from dressing in clothing traditionally worn by, quote unquote, the opposite sex, which is hard because it's like, what constitutes opposite at this point? So this has a little bit more information about who Marsha and Sylvia are and were and why they are so important to us. And then just a couple other things. There's a 30-minute audio story called Remembering Stonewall, where you actually hear clips of interviews with people who were at Stonewall. So again, you actually are hearing from people who were there. So that's pretty amazing. And then I'm asking you to read a piece that's more contemporary about pride and criminalized queers. So I gave you the PDF as well as the link. The link sometimes shows up blank. If it does that, you can try to refresh. Or what I do is go to my other browser and just paste it in there. Haha, and then it comes out. So sometimes I like reading things better this way than through the PDF. So if that's you, just try a different browser. It's just Beacon Press. This is their website. One of the ways that I keep costs, everything is free, is that I use Academic Press's websites in order to provide you readings along with the John Jay Library. So you don't have to buy anything, but sometimes then you see stuff that's a little slow or a little funky, like the Beacon Press website. So this is an excerpt related to work done by scholars of color about what it means to, 1969 was a long time ago. We've had decades and decades of LGBTQ activism, and changes to law, but really what's happened, what has actually helped or not helped, right? So this gives you some background into that. So this is, again, everything I want you to read, watch, and hear. So unit number 1, this is what I want you to digest, to read, to hear, to really try to understand, to take notes on, right? Then you'll have 2 different assignments. Your first assignment, and this will happen in every unit, is called a quick facts check-in. This is a way for you to check in with yourself to see if you actually did absorb what you needed to absorb. Did you understand the main points? It's quick as in short. It's only 3 questions. It's not timed. You can go back and fix wrong answers, use the readings, use your notes, right? Click to launch. You'll get the description again. Multiple attempts allowed. Resume it later, right? I hate that it's called a test. This is just what Blackboard does. This isn't a test. It's just set up in this way. So, there are multiple choice. They are, true, false, but it's a chance for you to reflect on your learning process. And again, if you get it wrong, you can go back and fix it, right? So you get the questions one at a time. They're 1 point each. And so again, this is a chance for you to see and check in with yourself about your learning process. Then the other assignment, so there'll always be 2 assignments for each unit, a quick facts check-in and a 1-sentence summary, and then usually also a discussion board post. So the quick facts check-in, 3 questions, 1 point each for 3 points. The other one is a 1-sentence summary worth 2 points. And this one's kind of fun and it's a little tricky, but it will really, I think, help you reflect again on what you've learned. So each unit, I'm going to ask you to summarize your knowledge on that particular unit's topic by constructing a single sentence that answers a question that gets at sort of the breadth of what you're looking at. So I want you to create one sentence, an answer to the question, what does pride mean for whom, when, where, how, and why? Obviously, you might not get all of those, right? But you'll get enough. So that means you need to have a very succinct, clear, concise, pointed sentence. You can write it, in the text box, but I actually suggest that you write it in a Google Doc or just, in your own, if you have Word or whatever, because Blackboard does not autosave, and it's really sad, and it's happened to me when I write stuff on Blackboard and then something happens. I forget and close my laptop. Power outage, dog knocks out the power cord, something funky happens with the internet, whatever, and all of a sudden I've lost all that work, and there's no way to get it back because Blackboard is not that smart. So write your work elsewhere and then copy and paste it into Blackboard. This will also be helpful because you're actually going to be referring back to your 1-sentence summaries in the future to help complete other assignments. Okay? I am going to anonymously compile everyone's 1-sentences into a Google Sheet, and you'll use that to reflect. So you'll see your sentence in relationship to 29 other student sentences and kind of get a feel for what it is that, perhaps are the main points. What is the whom, when, where, how, and why, right? So again, I'm asking you to say, what does pride mean for whom, when, where, how, and why? Because if you go back to what I want you to read, watch, and hear, in task number 4, what I want you to read, watch, and hear is all about pride, right? A documentary about the past, present, and future of pride. Here's, Pride was, the first riot. The first gay pride was a riot started by transgender people of color. I should say it was the first sort of LGBTQ riot. That really sparked, or at least is credited with sparking, the modern day LGBTQ movement, even though there was another riot at Compton's Cafeteria a year earlier in San Francisco. But, it was that time period, the very late 60s. So this is also about pride, right? Anything Stonewall is also about pride. And this piece, pride and criminalizing queers, right? So when I'm asking you to create a 1-sentence summary talking about what pride means for whom, when, how, where, and why, that's what you're going to be referring to. So this doesn't become like what pride means to me. It's about what does pride mean based on everything that you have digested for this unit. Again, when you are here, you can always click around. So if you want to go back, you can. The tasks that are over here as a table of contents so that you can kind of poke around as opposed to trying to find it all in different places. So each unit will have everything you need to read. It will have every assignment built into each unit. Okay, so that is it for the unit number 1 overview. Please reach out with any questions. Ahead of time, in the middle, at the end, whenever. You can text me, you can email me, you can reach out to me through the Remind app, whatever. I am here to help you. But following along with this video, following along with the syllabus, you should hopefully have a feel, that you should feel pretty confident in being able to get this done, particularly after you finish the first unit. The first unit is always the hardest because that's you getting to know me and what I expect of you, and me getting to know you and, your capabilities this semester. So I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you on the internet. Thank you.